Jeremiah chapter 10, verse 1. All right, let's learn about Christmas in the Bible. Christmas is a lie. The Most High told us through the prophet of Jeremiah not to keep that tradition, right? And what we find out is these so-called Christians not only keep that tradition, but they transgress the laws of God. And we'll see this practice outlined in the Bible not to be kept. So you got Jeremiah chapter 10?
Jeremiah chapter 10, verse 1.
Right.
Hear ye the word which the Lord speaketh unto you, O house of Israel.
All right. Continue.
Thus saith the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen.
So the scriptures say, learn not the way of the heathen. Now, the reason he's saying that is because during this time, there was a practice around this time that people were celebrating. And that was a heathenish custom that our people were practicing. Learn not the way of the heathen. And at this time, this was in the Babylonian captivity. So continue.
And be not dismayed at the signs of heaven.
Right.
For the heathen are dismayed at them.
All right, continue.
For the customs of the people are vain.
Right? They're pointless. They have no meaning. They're lies. Right? They don't edify to God. They edify to the things of this world. Right? They worship beasts of this world created by God. They worship the natural elements on this earth that were created by God. Everything that they worship on this planet was created by God, but they don't show reverence to the true creator. Read.
For the customs of the people are vain.
Right? So they're lies. Read.
For one cutteth a tree out of the forest.
So here now we're getting into detail with a specific custom, right? You go into the forest and you cut down a tree, and what else?
The work of the hands of the workmen with an axe.
Right?
They deck it with silver and with gold.
Right? So isn't that being done today with trees that are cut out of the forest? Right? They're being decked with silver and gold, right?
They fasten it with nails.
Right? Don't we fasten these trees with nails down so they can stand what?
They fasten it with nails and with hammers, that it move not.
Right?
They are upright as the palm tree,
Right?
but speak not.
They don't speak, right?
They must needs be born, because they cannot go.
Right.
Be not afraid of them, for they cannot do evil.
Because at this time, this practice, that tree was symbolizing idolatry. Now, let's pull up Antichrist 666. We're going to learn about this custom. Christmas originates from a Babylonian custom. Jeremiah was a prophet during the Babylonian times. Let's see what the Israelites were practicing at this time that the Most High is warning us. Because Christians don't like to study history at all, right? Christianity doesn't go past the Roman captivity, right? Because once you start getting into that, you start getting into actual facts, and they don't want to deal with the actual facts. Christmas is pagan, right? I'm going to prove that today. So can you pull up that article? The Nimrod. Come on. Nimrod. Not this one. I want the Nimrod, the pictures of the book. Come on. Yep, so we're going to start. Where we going to start? So start reading. So start at the top in the legend. All right.
In the legend of
the title of this book is called Antichrist 666, right? Read.
In the legend of the Tauric goddess Diana, it is said that every stranger who landed on her shore was sacrificed on her altar. Have you ever wondered what the Christmas tree has to do with the birth of Christ? Or the ornaments you place on the tree? Or the meaning of the word Yuletide?
So what does this have to do with Christ? Right? None of this is mentioned in the scriptures, right? But these are customs and practices that have been implemented for us to use to celebrate the birth of Christ. What do they have to do with Christ? All right, read.
Or where the tradition of mistletoe came from, and how it became a symbol of Christmas. Reader, they have nothing whatsoever to do with the birth of Jesus, but are some of the traditions observed to honor the birth of pagan god-child Tammuz. There is not one single scriptural evidence that supports the birth of Christ as being December 25th. But history says December 25th was kept thousands of years before the birth of Jesus, in honor of the pagan Messiah. Another name for Tammuz, the pagan godchild, was Baal Bereth, which means Lord of the fir tree.
Lord of the fir trees, right? So what's a fir tree would be a pine tree, right? Read.
the sun god, the mother goddess, and their son, according to Babylonian mythology,
That's where they also get the Trinity from, but we're not going to touch on that today. But read.
were mystically changed into trees. This is the origin of burning the Yule log.
Haven't you ever wondered why those who have Christmas places, fireplaces, they burn logs on Christmas, right? They have videos on Netflix of burning logs, and Edomites will burn those logs, have those videos playing on Christmas, right? Why are they doing that? Let's continue.
Nimrod, deified as the sun god, was symbolized by a big fir tree, stripped of all its branches and cut almost to
Come on, next page. Yep.
the ground. But the great serpent, which symbolized the life restorer, whose name is Aesculapius, twisted itself around the dead stock, and lo, at its side sprouts a young tree, a tree of an entirely different kind, which is destined never to be cut down by hostile power. Even the palm tree, the well-known symbol of victory. People of Aryan stock who believed that the oak tree was a symbol of Zeus or Jupiter,
Right, so now we're starting to get into the Greeks and the Romans, right? Read.
believed that this branch of mistletoe, which grew on the oak tree, and to be kissed under the mistletoe would ensure fertility.
Mm-hmm.
The branch was a name given to the Christ in Isaiah 11 and 1.
Mm-hmm.
And there shall come forth a rod out of the stem of Jesse, and a branch shall grow out of his roots.
Right.
Now take the word Yuletide. The word Yule is as Babylonian as Tammuz. The word Yule is the Chaldee word for infant or little child. And the 25th of December was called by the pagan Anglo-Saxons.
So go back up now. All right, go back up. Let's go back up. Now we're going to read this right here. Go up and also show the picture. I want you to see the picture, right? The tree stump that they were talking about, we were just reading about, that Tammuz was supposed to sprout out of. Oh, that's it? All right, so yeah, that's fine. Yeah. Let's get that. Read that. So this is the mythology behind Nimrod, which became Christmas during the Babylonian time, right? Read.
Nimrod was killed in his prime of life.
Right, so the tree got cut down, right? Read.
And Nimrod's myth was that his death was to be avenged by the incarnation of his son, Tammuz.
So Tammuz was this quote-unquote godchild from Semiramis, was born. The father was already dead. They say they don't know who the father was, and they just said it was an immaculate birth, right? Read.
Tammuz, who was born at the winter solstice, December 25th. Nimrod, the great god of the Babylonians and Assyrians, and his son Tammuz were symbolized in the form of trees.
Right.
Nimrod, cut off in the midst of his power and glory, was symbolized as a huge tree, stripped of all its branches and cut down almost to the ground. But the great serpent, the symbol of the life-restoring Aesculapius, twists itself around the dead stock as shown above. And lo, at its side, up sprouts a young tree, a tree of an entirely different kind, that is destined never to be cut down by hostile power.
That was supposed to be Tammuz, right?
This was a palm tree, and it became the symbol of Tammuz, the pagan messiah, because it was a symbol of victory. This could explain the custom of the heathen of hanging their enemies' heads from their sacred trees.
Because this is what the Babylonians used to do at this time. They would kill their enemies and hang their heads from trees, right? Read.
For it not only showed a sign of victory, but also to avenge both Nimrod and Tammuz. For Tammuz, in his myth, like his father, was killed in the prime of life.
Right? So Christmas originates from here. So let's go back to Jeremiah really quick. And what I want you to get me is the Catholic Church. Get me the Mother Mary and the baby Jesus, right? Because Christ was a grown man, right, when he died. What does baby Jesus and Mother Mary got to do with the nation of Israel being redeemed, right? That makes no sense. What the Catholic Church is doing, and what we're going to show you, is they took the pagan practice from Semiramis and Tammuz, and they morphed it into what is now known as Christmas today, right? You see the Messiah today. They just made the Babylonians look like them, right? Same practice, same customs, and we'll show you. So read that.
Jeremiah 10 and 1.
Let's start at verse 3.
Jeremiah 10 and 3. For the customs of the people are vain, For one cutteth a tree out of the forest, the work of the hands of the workmen, with an axe. They deck it with silver and with gold. They fasten it with nails and with hammers, that it move not. They are upright as the palm tree, but speak not. They must needs be born, because they cannot go. Be not afraid of them, for they cannot do evil. Neither also is it in them to do good.
Because now we got the history of what Jeremiah is talking about. The Christmas tree was a pagan god. It was an idol, right? It was a pagan god, and our people were scared if they didn't keep this custom that Nimrod or his son Tammuz would come out of the tree and kill them, right? So that's why Jeremiah had to warn the people to avoid this custom. But this is the origins of Christmas. Christmas is a lie. Christ wasn't born on December 25th. It's a pagan custom that Christians and these Christian churches still practice today. We're letting you know that these Christians are liars. They got this from the white man. Now let's prove this. Go to the article of the Encyclopedia Britannica, right? We're going to get some more information on Christmas, right? Because the scholars know this. The heathens talk about this in their school systems. In their colleges, amongst the elite, right? Those who are in the know, even the Catholic Church, they know that Christmas is a lie, but they still have you guys practicing it, worshiping a false god. Why would they do that, right? You got that? Pull up the article. We're going to start right there. So is there a top to it? Just so the people know. This is the Encyclopedia Britannica. You can pull this up, right? All right.
Why is Christmas in December? Christmas, the holiday commemorating the birth of Jesus Christ, is celebrated by a majority of Christians on December 25th in the Gregorian calendar. But early Christians did not celebrate his birth.
Right? We're going to find out why. Read.
And no one knows on which date Jesus was actually born. Some scholars believe that the actual date was in the early spring,
Around Passover, right? Read.
placing it closer to Easter.
We don't celebrate Easter. Bunny rabbits and eggs got nothing to do with the Bible, right? Easter is another pagan god. It was the Passover, right? Read.
Easter, the holiday commemorating his resurrection. The origins of the holiday and its December date lie in the ancient Greco-Roman world, as commemorations probably began sometime in the 2nd century.
So the origins, they're lying here because we just showed you the real origins of the practice, right? With the Babylonians, right? But the practice came back around during the Greco-Roman period, right? So it was a pagan custom. Read.
There are at least 3 possible origins for the December date. The Roman Christian historian Sextus Julius Africanus dated Jesus' conception to March 25th, the same date upon which he held the world was created, which after 9 months in his mother's womb would result in a December 25th birth.
So he made something up, right? Can't back this up at all with scripture at all. He made something up. So read, continue.
In the 3rd century,
Let's go down, guys. Come on.
In the 3rd century, the Roman Empire, which at the time had not adopted Christianity, celebrated the rebirth of the unconquered sun, Sol Invictus, on December 25th.
Here's a pagan god. This is the Roman pagan god, Sol Invictus of the solar cult. Right, read.
This holiday not only marked the return of longer days after the winter solstice, but also followed the popular Roman festival called the Saturnalia.
Right, so December 25th is when these Caucasians who were running the Roman Empire would celebrate a holiday commemorating Sol Invictus, right, on what they called Saturnalia. Saturn, right, is what the Greeks called Zeus, right? The Romans called him Saturn. So here it is, they're worshiping Zeus on Saturnalia and worshiping Zeus' son, Sol Invictus, right? Read.
Saturnalia, during which people feasted and exchanged gifts. It was also the birthday of the Indo-European deity Mithra, a god of light and loyalty whose cult was at the time growing popular among the Roman soldiers.
So it also became the birthday for another idol, right, amongst the soldiers, right? Read.
The church in Rome began formally celebrating Christmas on December 25th in 336, during the reign of the Emperor Constantine. As Constantine had made Christianity the effective religion of the empire, Some have speculated that choosing this date had the political motive of weakening the established pagan celebrations.
So the reason why the Roman Catholic Church, which started in the Holy Roman Empire, right, decided to take all the pagan religions at that time was to weaken the pagan faith and have everybody under one religion. What is that called today? That would be called the one. What is it? The one world religion that they're always talking about establishing with the New World Order, right? This is where that started. The one world religion. All pagan practices can be celebrated in the Christian church. We're just going to rename it, and we're going to redraw all the pictures of all these idols and make them look like Europeans, right? This is where that comes from, right? This is what the Christians are celebrating. This is what the white man pushes out throughout the earth, right? Why? All right, read.
The date was not widely accepted in the Eastern Empire, where January 6th had been favored. For another half century, Christmas did not become a major Christian festival until the 9th century.
Right after they conquered us out of Europe, after they enslaved the 9th century. All right, so now we're learning more about these customs. Let's pull up Saturnalia, because it said the festival is a practice of Saturnalia, right? What did they do on Saturnalia, right? This is what you're practicing. If you're in the Christian church, this is what you're practicing. This is what you're upholding. Christ was not born in December, right? So you to even lie to yourself and say that while you're practicing this, right, you're still in idolatry. The scriptures say to avoid all appearances of evil, right? This custom has to die amongst our people because this has nothing to do with Christ, has nothing to do with God. The Most High tells us in Jeremiah not to keep this practice, right? You got that article for me? All right, let's go to... Didn't I send you an article on Saturnalia? What did they do on Saturnalia? Pretty sure I sent you an article. They got drunk. They danced naked in the street. They gave each other presents. You got that? All right, where we at? So go to the top of the article. All right, so what is the... Come on, let's read that. Let's go.
Historically, Christmas is basically about drunken debauchery.
Right? This is what the Romans were doing when they practiced Saturnalia. They practiced what you guys call Christmas, right? The origins, right? Go down. Let's go. Let's go.
It's unlikely Jesus was born around Christmas time. The man whose viral Facebook post started the Great Starbucks Cup.
Come on, guys. What's going on, man? The British theologian. All right, let's go to second parable, British theologian. We're going to start there.
British theologian and biblical scholar Adam Clarke wrote that flocks would not have been kept in the field by night and later than September and so.
Why? Because the winters in the desert and what you guys call the Middle East would be too damn cold to be out there, right? A lot of you Christians haven't been to the desert. I've been to the desert. I lived out there, right? It gets cold as hell out there during the summertime, right? So to be out there in the wintertime is a death sentence. Read.
On this very ground, the nativity in December should be given up. But December has long been a time of festivities, and it's likely that these have been co-opted by the Christian tradition. Matthew Nichols, professor of...
Right, so hold on. But December has been a long time of festivities, right? The pagans, the Christians know that these festivities are pagan in origin, but they adopted them for Christianity, right? They want as many souls in the Christian church, not to save them, but to make money, right, and to have power and to have rulership over these people, right? Read.
Matthew Nichols, professor at classics at the University of Reading, told BBC, Christmas in December is a Western Roman idea.
It's a Western Roman idea. When they say the word Western, matter of fact, get me first world countries. Give me Western countries. Keep this article where it's at. But give me the pull up on Google Western civilization countries. I want to show you what countries are considered Western, right? Is it everybody or is it a specific nation of people? Right? Let's pull that up. Right? They're saying these words and they don't really explain what they mean. You have to look into them, right? Because Esau likes to use Jedi mind tricks, right? And deceive you. They like to get past you with words and they prey on your ignorance, right? So let's see what's going on. Who are the Western Romans? What are they talking about? Oh man, IT man. All right,
Western.
so hold on. Let's pull up the article. Let's go to that article. There's more countries than that. No, no. Let's go back. Go back. Go down. How many countries are Western? Let's look at that. Let's look at those. Click on the link. All right. It's not giving us a list. I just want to see a list. So go back. So this is a new list, right? Because Argentina's not Western. Go back. Go back. Go down. Come on. Come on. Come on. The Western world. Pick on that. So Roman Western world. It's not gonna include non-European nations. They just added those. But go down. Go down. All right. Hold on. All right, go down. Come on, guys. Let's get a list of countries here, man. You know what I'm looking for. All right. Let's go back to the other article. Western countries. You guys can put that in post editing. Western countries, these are all European nations, including America, another European nation. When they talk about Western civilization, Western customs and traditions, these are the customs of Caucasian people. It has nothing to do with the other nations or the other race of people that is on this planet, right? So go back to that article. Let's go back to that article, and it says Western rule. All right. So remember where we at?
Matthew Nichols.
All right, let's go.
Matthew Nichols, professor of classics at the University of Reading, told the BBC, Christmas in December is a Western Roman idea.
Right? So Caucasian idea. Read.
That answered the social need for a festival of some sort around that date, midwinter. In the late 4th century, Christian writer Scriptor Cyrus explained that Christmas was planned to coincide with the birthday of the pagan deity Sol Invictus.
Didn't we just read about that on the Encyclopedia Britannica? So this is what we call, taking evidence and peer reviewing it and comparing and contrasting against other credited sources, right? So here it is. We have two Caucasian sources because you got the Christians online. You love and worship the white man, right? They're telling you to your face in these books, in these articles, that Christmas is pagan. Christmas is pagan. And you're teaching the people in your congregation a lie, a Western Roman lie, a Caucasian lie, right? Lies that the white man told me. Christmas is not the birth of Christ, right? Read.
It was a custom of the pagans to celebrate on the same 25 December the birthday of the sun.
They worship the sun, right? They worship the sun. Why do you think they say Christ rose on Sunday? Why is it called Sunday? Why does the Gregorian calendar have Roman emperors on it and Roman gods? Right? Augustus, Julius for July, right? March, Janus, January is a pagan god, right? September, October, November, December, those are Roman numbers. That's Latin. What's going on? Right, read.
The birthday of the sun, at which they kindled lights in token of festivity. In these solemnities,
Right. Don't they do that now? The lights on the houses, right? They use the lights to symbolize the sun, right? Read.
in these solemnities and revelries, the Christians also took part. Accordingly, when the
So the
doctors
Christians at that time, right? They were Jews at this time, right? Not the new Christians. They were practicing Roman pagan customs. That's why Paul was going around Rome and checking those who said they believed in Christ, because this has nothing to do with Christ. Read.
Accordingly, when the doctors of the church perceived that the Christians had a leaning to this festival, they took counsel and resolved that the true nativity should be solemnized on that day.
So the Romans got together and said, know what? These Christians, they're growing in number, right? Let's make the Sol Invictus Saturnalia festival, right, that we're celebrating. We're going to call it Christmas and have it symbolize the birth of Christ. This is the origins, right? Let's go.
And both these holidays were likely inspired by the Roman festival of Saturnalia, which ran from 17 to 25 December. The Romans used Saturnalia as a time of wild merrymaking.
Now, don't they always say be merry on Christmas? Right? Merrymaking, right? Now you're seeing where you're even getting the lingo from, right, Reed?
Some of the more sedate activities included excessive eating and drinking.
That's what, don't they do that? They have these giant feasts on Christmas, the Christmas ham. They always show you a table full of food, the Christmas desserts, the meats, the pies, right? They just show you this giant table of food, right, Reed?
Singing in the streets.
Christmas carols, right? Christmas carols, singing in the streets.
While naked.
We don't do that now, but this is what the Romans were doing, right?
And exchanging gifts.
Right? Exchanging gifts. Exchanging gifts. Right? Isn't that what people do on Christmas? Right? You're seeing where the custom comes from. Right, Reed?
These festivities then became the hallmarks of Christmas, as Stephen Nassenbaum, a historian, writes in his book, The Battle for Christmas.
The battle for Christmas, right? So here it is. The festivities of the Romans became hallmarks for Christmas, right? Let's go back up, right? The excessive eating and drinking, the singing in the streets, and the exchanging of gifts became the hallmarks for Christianity, for Christmas, right? That lets you know a lot, right? These are the lies. Christmas is a lie, right? Now, let's go. Let's read this. Let's finish this paragraph, and we're going to move on. All right, come on. In return?
In return for ensuring massive observance of the anniversary of the Savior's birth by assigning it to the resonant date.
Right, by assigning it to a date that was already established to be the worshiping of Saturnalia, right? What happened?
The church, for its part, tacitly agreed to allow the holiday to be celebrated more or less the way it had always been.
Right? So they didn't want to, they adopted a pagan custom. And they said, we're not even going to change the pagan customs that go against God, right? Don't worship God in any way, shape, or form. We're going to allow the people to keep on practicing these customs. This is what the church did. They were in agreement with Rome, right? This is where that holiday comes from, right? So we finished that. Let's move on to Thanksgiving. Let me get hidden history of Massachusetts. Let's learn about Thanksgiving, right? Because we still celebrate Thanksgiving in America. Not the Israelites, right? But Americans celebrate Thanksgiving. Your parents celebrate Thanksgiving. Your grandma, your cousins, your aunts, your uncles, they get together and they celebrate Thanksgiving. What is Thanksgiving really about? Because they'll say, oh, Thanksgiving has been turned into this holiday where family can get together. That's a damn lie. That day was created, right, when Edomites were killing our people. Caucasian men and women were killing our people. Then you want to sit there with your dumb, stupid behind and say, this day that these Edomites made so that they could celebrate the destruction of your people, you're now going to turn around and say that it's a day for family to get together. You're dumb. You're stupid if you're saying that, right? Let's bring that book up. Right? This is the book right here. This is now $700. This is a hard book to get. The Hidden History of Massachusetts. This is the history that they don't want to teach you in Massachusetts, right? They're not going to teach you this in the schools at all. Let's go. Let's open this up. Let's get into this, right? So we're going to read that first, this paragraph right here. Yet the European, right? We're going to get some history on what was going on in Massachusetts as these European settlers were coming here. All right, read.
Yet the Europeans chose not to accept the Indian invitation to integrate harmoniously into this superior new environment.
Right, because they already got the palpable bull saying that they could take the land in the name of Christianity, but we see Christianity is a damn lie just from reading about Christmas, right? So they were not coming here with the intentions of joining with Gad, right? They came here for war. Read.
But rather to import the worst of Europe's unrestrained hell into Indian civilization.
They wanted to take the hell that they had already created in Europe, because Europe was garbage, right? When they took it from us, they had turned it into hell, and they wanted to bring that here to America. All right, read.
Years before the Pilgrim arrival in the land of the Massachusetts, a succession of white Europeans, including George Weymouth, Fernando Jorges, Jacques Cartier, Edward Harlow, the previously mentioned Smith and Vazano, all came to the New England shoreline and kidnapped or killed the Indians they encountered.
So Pocahontas is a lie. There was no singing and dancing, right, with John Smith. Pocahontas wasn't running away with John Smith. John Smith was a murderer, right? These men came here to scout out the territory so that they can make a plan to take it, right? Read.
And kidnapped or killed the Indians they encountered without the slightest provocation.
Right? It was on sight. That's what our people say in the streets, on sight. That's what they was doing when they came here. They saw a Gadite, right? The so-called Indian man. It was on sight. Kill that man immediately. Read.
English captain Thomas Hunt enticed several of the friendly red citizens of Cape Cod onto his ship, and then tried to sail back to Europe with them.
Try to kidnap them, right? Human trafficking. Read.
Many were killed in the ensuing struggle, and at least 27 poor silly savages were sold into slavery for 20 euros a head, including the
Pilgrim. Let's go to the next one. Yeah, let's go.
Including the Pilgrim's first Indian friend, Squanto.
All right, let's get that screen out of the way so you can continue to read. Come on. That picture, let's get that out of the way. Let's go.
The English marauders went on to destroy 200 acres of prime Indian cornfields. 6 sailors spread their tenacious diseases among the Indians. Infected rats swam to shore from European ships. And between 1616 and 1618, the spread of European disease throughout the Indian population progressed so rapidly that as many as 60% of the native population was wiped out.
Do you understand? These Caucasian people were so nasty. They brought the diseases that they had over there in Europe, the shores of this land, and it literally killed 60% of the population on the coastal side of this land. Right, Reed?
Years before any pilgrim laid eyes on the Massachusetts shoreline.
So what they don't tell you is when the pilgrims got here, the shorelines were empty because a lot of the people feared to go to the shorelines because of all the plague that was running rampant through it. Right, Reed?
When he did arrive, Puritan John Winthrop was actually delighted at the wave of death brought by the Europeans who preceded him.
Aren't the Puritans supposed to be Christ-like? Right. Let's go. Let's go.
For it pleased.
Let's go to the next page. Let's go to the next page. All right.
Whites began a campaign of Indian demonization, the traditional European prerequisite to total annihilation.
So what they do first, and you saw this with Amalek when they were going after the Palestinians. They paint a horrible picture of them. You're rapists, you're murderers, you're barbaric, you're slaves, you're savages, you look like dogs, like all this craziness, right? So they could then, right, get the population to not see them as humans so they can start murdering them on sight, right? This is what they do. This is called demonization. That's what the whole purpose of that's for. Read.
Miraculously, paradise had become a barbaric wasteland filled with lurking savages, cannibals, uncivilized beasts, and worse.
This is what they were telling the people, right? So to get them ready when they came to this land. If you see any of these people, they are savages, these are beasts, they're cannibals, you have to kill them, right? Read.
Much of this slander was committed in a jealous rage against the Indians and their advanced civilization.
Because the Indians were more advanced than the Europeans that were coming over here, believe it or not, right? Many of the stuff that they tell us, right? They don't even want to show us the civilizations that a lot of these Native Americans had over here that they destroyed, right? But they allow the lie to keep floating in the air that our brothers and sisters were savages, right? They tell you the same thing about Africa. They're savages. They never want to really show you the beauty of Africa, right? What they show you is a lot of the poorest parts of Africa. But Africa's built up. It's beautiful. There's a lot of beautiful places. But they want you to believe that it's savage land out there, right? That the people are beasts and cannibals. That's not true. These are lies that white men have told you and me since we've been born and we've been here, right? So let's go back to the book.
The real first Thanksgiving.
This is the real first Thanksgiving. Read.
According to a single paragraph account in the writings of one pilgrim.
Actually, let's get a scripture first. Let's get Micah chapter 2, verse 1. All right, we've been reading for a little bit. I want to jump into this the scripture really quick. Right, so you see that their intention was to come here and steal the land from our brothers and sisters. It was never to be at peace with them or to make any type of peace. Let's see what the Most High says about people who move in that spirit. All right, read.
Micah 2 and 1. Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it, because it is in their power of their hand.
You saw that they were scouting the land. They sent John Smith and all these other Caucasian men to come over here to scout the land, right, and start figuring out ways to take it. That meant that they were in these rooms. They got amongst themselves. They came up with plans. They went to sleep dreaming about how they were going to take the land, right? What is the best way to do it, right? They practice evil. Woe to them. God says destruction. Read.
And they covet fields.
Didn't they cover our brothers' fields? They took this land, read.
And take them by violence.
Did they take it by peace? These Caucasians took it by violence. God says woe to them, right? Read.
And houses, and take them away. So they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his heritage.
Not only they oppress a man and his house, this is Gad's land. They oppressed in their own land, but a man and his heritage. Right, because they've stole the Gadites, right? We're going to get an article. A lot of Gadites aren't Gadites, right? A lot of them were $5 Indians. All right, we're going to go there, but did we finish the scripture yet?
1 verse 3.
Right,
now.
a man and his heritage, right? So they oppress a man and his heritage. Let's get $5 Indians, right? So after they finished stealing the land from the people, they had given reservations and territories to these Gadites, specifically Oklahoma. Right? And then they came up with something to steal the land from Gadites in Oklahoma. Let's see what they did. $5 Indians. Let's pull that up. Let's show the people this history. This is what they don't want you to know. This is what they don't want to teach you. Right? Because they want you to be in ignorance so they can pretend to be at peace with you. Right? Let's go. Read the top.
Paying to play Indian. The dolls rose and the legacy of $5 Indians.
The legacy of $5. This is well documented. This is what this is going into. Go down.
Paying a commissioner $5.
No, it may be fashionable.
It may be fashionable to play Indian now, but it was also trendy 125 years ago when people paid $5 apiece for falsified documents declaring them native on the dolls' rolls.
Right? This is what Caucasian people were doing. They were paying $5 to get falsified doctrines that said that they were Native Americans. Right? How many Caucasian people that you can clearly see and look Caucasian, but they tell you that they're Native American? Right? Those people, right, are the ones, these are their ancestors right here. Because that lie, in order for them to be saying that lie must have been in their family at some point in time. From where? From this legacy right here. Read.
These so-called $5 Indians paid government agents under the table.
So the government was involved in this. The government was involved in this. Right? I thought there was no such thing as institutional racism. Right? Isn't that what these Caucasians are saying in certain circles? There's no such thing. The government was involved in this legacy. That means that this is documented. Read.
Paid government agents under the table in order to reap the benefits that came with having Indian blood. Many white men with an appetite for land, $5 Indians paid to register on the Dawes rolls, earning fraudulent enrollment in tribes along with the benefits inherited by generations to come.
So what are they telling you? A lot of these Gadites on these reservations ain't Gadites. A lot of them are Caucasians, right? And this is their legacy right here, right? Read.
These were opportunistic white men who wanted access to land or food rations, said Gregory Smithers, associate professor at the History of History at Virginia Commonwealth University.
So this is a prestigious institution, right? So once again, this is history they don't talk about in the mainstream, but in the universities and in elite circles, this information is talked about. They have to know this history, right? They have to know this history, right? Read.
These were people who were more than happy to exploit the Dawes Commission, and government agents for $5 were willing to turn a blind eye to the graft and corruption.
So the government knew what these Caucasians were doing, and they allowed it to happen because they was getting paid, right? Read.
The Dawes Commission, established in 1893 to enforce the General Allotment Act of 1887, or the Dawes Acts, was charged with convincing tribes to cede their land to the United States and divide remaining land into individual allotments. The commission also required Indians to claim membership in only one tribe and register on the Dawes rolls.
Right, so the whole purpose of this was to get the Gadites to associate themselves with a tribe so that they could start taking lands from unrecognized tribes. All right, this was the whole purpose of that, right, Reed?
What the government meant to be a definitive record of individuals with Indian blood.
Right. They also wanted to keep a census of who was actually a Gadite and who wasn't. All right, Reed?
The Curtis Act, passed in 1898, targeted the 5 civilized tribes.
So these are the tribes that the Caucasian people targeted. So when you hear Caucasians mention any one of these tribes and they clearly look like a white person, right? This is why. This is where this comes from, right? This is the lie, all right? Where are those tribes?
Cherokee.
How many white people you know would claim Cherokee ancestry? I've heard that a lot, right?
Choctaw.
Right?
Chickasaw.
Right?
Creek and Seminole.
Mm.
Forcing them to accept allotments and register on the Dawes rolls. The 2 acts, which came during a period of murky social context.
Murky social context, man, there was a lot of shadiness going on. All right, Reed?
After the Civil War, when white and black men were intermarrying with Native American women, aimed to help the government keep track of real Indians, while accelerating efforts to assimilate Indian people into white culture.
How do you do that? By allowing white people to pay $5 to go into the damn reservations and pretend to be Indians while bringing in those customs. Right, so let's go back. Let's go back to the book. So let's read Micah chapter 2, 1 and 2 again.
Micah 2 and 1. Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds.
The Dawes Act, the Allotment Act of 1887, that was iniquity that was worked upon in their bed. Men got together and thought that bill out and wrote it up, then got the law passed in Congress, so that they can then go out into the land and push it on our people, right? Woe, destruction, Read.
When the morning is light, they practice it.
Right, because all this was done during the day. The government works during the daytime, right, Read?
Because it is in the power of their hand.
The government agents, it's in their power. The power's in their hand. They were running the country at the time, right, Read?
And they covet fields.
Right, those lands that the Gadites had, right? They coveted those lands. And what?
And take them by violence.
They take them by violence, right? You ever heard of the Trail of Tears? They took it by violence. I Read.
And houses, and take them away. So they oppress a man in his house.
So they oppress a man in his house, his own land, and what else?
Even a man and his heritage.
And They will even oppress your heritage. $5 Indians. Right? That's oppressing the Gadites, allowing these Caucasians to register as Gadites so you can continue to rape and pillage them. Right? God says, woe to the people who do that. Now, let me get Isaiah chapter 14, verse 21. What does God say is going to happen to the children of the Caucasian people because of their heinous crimes? Right? You can say sorry all you want to. Right? That's between you and the Most High, Caucasian man and woman. Right? We can't do anything against this. We're not a hate group. What we're doing is we're teaching the truth. We just went into historical facts. Your history that your scholars are over here writing down so you can then recall later and read about it. And we're bringing it out and relating it to the scriptures. This is what God says about your people. Right? You coveted those fields. You coveted those houses. You oppressed a man in his land. You oppressed a man in his heritage. This is what God says about the future generations of the Caucasian man, their children. This is going to be your legacy. This is what you're going to inherit. You got that?
Isaiah 14:21. Prepare slaughter for his children.
God says prepare slaughter for his children. For what?
For the iniquity of their fathers.
All that was sin we just read about. And we're going to read more. We're going to read more. This is why Caucasians don't like to go into the history books, right? Because they want, like we had done in the past class, right? They call themselves white. It means pure. It means innocent. It means clean, right? But when you go into the history, it gets dirty. It gets bloody, right? And what do we read about? All their transgressions, the violence, the rape, the murder, the human trafficking, the sex trafficking, right? The oppression, the theft, right? God says, read that again.
Prepare slaughter for his children, for the iniquity of their fathers.
Right?
That they do not rise, nor possess the land, nor fill the face of the world with cities.
Right? So the world's filled with cities right now. So this is future judgment. Right? What's coming to you? Your cities are gone. What you built is going to be destroyed. Right? God says, destruction is coming to your children for the iniquities of the fathers. We're reading about all the evil that Caucasian people did to the Israelites. And God's going to pay you back for it. Right? So let's go back to the book, Hidden History. Right? The origins of Thanksgiving. Right? Remember, the class is called Lies the White Man Told Me. Right? There might even be a part 3 to this class because we didn't even get into the other stuff, right? Christmas and Thanksgiving was a lot of reading. All right, so the real Thanksgiving, let's go to the first highlighted section. Let's read that part right there.
According to a single paragraph account in the writings of one pilgrim, a harvest feast did take place in Plymouth in 1621, probably in mid-October. But the Indians who attended were not even invited.
So this was never about coming together in peace. They didn't even invite the Indians. They didn't even invite the Indians. All right, read.
Though it later became known as Thanksgiving, the Pilgrims never called it that.
They never called it that. So they just made something up over a period of time, right? They made something up, right? Read.
And amidst the imagery of a picnic of interracial harmony is some of the most terrifying bloodshed in New World history.
So you got to really think about that. Just go back. Hold up, bro. I didn't tell you to move. Right? The imagery of a picnic of interracial harmony. They wanted us to believe that all races came together as one. We were all one people. The intention was to brainwash our people into believing that Thanksgiving is for everybody. Right? But now we're going to go into the history of Thanksgiving, and we're going to see what it's really about. Is it about family and love and interracial harmony? No, right? The record shows that it's about bloodshed and murder, right? And let's go. Let's continue on. Actually, go back. Hold on. Go back to that page again. Zoom in. Let's zoom in. I saw something about cranberries in here. Let's see. Where's all that crap coming from? All right, so let's start. The Pilgrims invited the Indians.
The Pilgrims invited the Indian Sa- Sachem Massasoit to their feast, and it was Massasoit, engaging in the tribal tradition of equal sharing, who then invited 90 or more of his Indian brethren and sisters, to the annoyance of the 50 or so ungrateful Europeans.
They weren't grateful, so how was this Thanksgiving, Reed?
No turkey, cranberry sauce, or pumpkin pie was served.
Right, so where do you get that nonsense? That was made up later because they turned it into a feast. Right, Reed?
They likely ate duck or geese,
All right.
and the venison from the 5 deer brought by Massasoit.
Right, so the Gadites brought stuff. The Pilgrims didn't bring nothing because they were bums. Right, they were drunkards and they were criminals. A lot of them. Right, there was barely anybody that was what they would call a pilgrim, a separatist. Right, that was a bunch of nonsense. Let's go to the next one.
The pilgrims of Plymouth, the original scalpers.
Oh, all right, Reed.
Contrary to popular mythology, the pilgrims were no friends to the local Indians. They were engaged in a ruthless war of extermination against their hosts.
The host was Gad. So they were engaged in a war of extermination. Their whole purpose was to wipe them out. Read.
Even as they falsely posed as friends. Just days before the alleged Thanksgiving love fest, a company of pilgrims led by Miles Standish actively sought to chop off the head of a local chief.
Right? This is what they were planning, murder and death. Let's go to the next page. Let's go to the next page. All right. Puritan Holocaust. Puritan Holocaust. Let's read the brackets.
Puritan Holocaust. In one incident around 1637, a force of whites trapped some 700 Pequot Indians, mostly women, children, and elderly, near the mouth of the Mystic River.
So this is what Edomites call the Battle of Mystic River. But the Gadites, right, the so-called Native Americans call this the Massacre of Mystic River because they killed women and children. How was it a battle, right? So here it is. This is what they called the first Thanksgiving, or one of the first Thanksgivings. All right, read.
Englishman John Mason attacked the Indian camp with fire, sword, blunderbuss, and tomahawk. Only a handful escaped, and few prisoners were taken.
They didn't go there with the intention of making prisoners, right? It was to kill everybody, right? Let's get that in Deuteronomy 28. 49 and 50. Let's read that.
Deuteronomy 28, verse 49. The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth.
Right, the Spaniards, the English, the Portuguese, right? All these nations came here. Even the Germans were here, right?
A nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand. A nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of the old, nor show favor to the young.
Right? They killed men, women, and children with the intention of not taking any captives. Let's go back to the book. Right? This is what we're reading about. This is Bible prophecy that has come to pass, and now we're bringing it out to you to show you in the history this has happened. These are the curses that were put upon us for breaking God's laws. Read.
Englishman John Mason attacked the Indian camp with fire, sword, blunderbuss, and tomahawk. Only a handful escaped, and few prisoners were taken, to the apparent delight of the Europeans.
Right. Now read the middle section. I didn't bracket it, but
to see them frying in the fire, and the streams of their blood quenching the same, and the stench was horrible, but the victory seemed a sweet sacrifice, and they gave praise thereof to God.
Thank God. Right. So this is what they said on that day. Now let's read what happened afterwards.
This event marked the first actual Thanksgiving.
So this is the first Thanksgiving. This is the first Thanksgiving right here. This is the first Thanksgiving. Read. This is what Thanksgiving is about. This is the origin of the day that you say is a day of family. This is a day of bloodshed and murder, right? So then our people being dumb as hell, right? Your captors have oppressed you and brainwashed you enough to have you believing that Thanksgiving is about family, interracial harmony. That's a bunch of crap. That's a bunch of crap. What we're reading is history. This is what it's actually about. Read that.
In just 10 years, 12,000 whites had invaded New England, and as their numbers grew, they pressed for all-out extermination of the Indian.
Right, a nation of fierce continents. Right, read.
Euro diseases had reduced the population of the Massachusetts nation from over 24,000 to less than 750.
This is how they got a foothold in the land. Read.
Meanwhile, the number of European settlers in Massachusetts rose to more than 20,000 by 1646.
All right, now let's read this part right here.
By 1675, the Massachusetts Englishmen were in a full-scale war with the great Indian chief of the Wampanoags, Metacomet.
Right, Metacomet. This starts the history account, the King Philip Wars. Right, this is what we're getting into now. This is when the next Thanksgiving happens. All right, so let's go. Because remember, Mystic River Massacre marked the first Thanksgiving. There was many more after that. Thanksgiving is what they gave. They had a feast after they murdered our people, and they thanked God. That's what they did. All right, read.
When Captain Benjamin Church tracked down and murdered Metacomet
King Philip, as he was known by the English, right, read.
in 1676, his body was quartered and parts were left for the wolves.
They even give him a decent burial, right?
The great Indian chief's hands were cut off and sent to Boston, and his head went to Plymouth, where it was set upon a pole on the real first day of public Thanksgiving for the beginning of revenge upon the enemy.
So the Mystic River Massacre was Thanksgiving from the army, but then they actually made it an official, right, public event. This is what we're reading. So the killing of King Philip, also his real name Metacomet, Gadites, like his death is what they used for the first public day of Thanksgiving. This is what you're celebrating, the destruction of our brothers and sisters, right? You should be ashamed of yourself if you're celebrating this day, because this is what it symbolizes. This is why they don't want to tell you the real truth. This is why they continue to lie to you or allow that lie to float out there. This is the reality, right? Read.
Metacomet's 9-year-old son was destined for execution because the whites reasoned the offspring of the devil must pay for the sins of their father.
Right? This is what they quoted. The offspring of because he was defending himself in his land. He's the devil. This is what the so-called white men said. You see the delusions? You're the devil coming into the land, killing these people who were trying to establish peace with you, right? But then you turn around and say he's the devil, right? Isn't that the pot calling the kettle black? Right, read.
The child was instead shipped to the Caribbean to spend his life in slavery.
That's also letting you know, 1619, right, when the Wampanoag tribes, the Wampanoag was a federation of tribes in the New England area. They were Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 68. This is also letting you Gadites know, yes, you did go into slavery. You didn't just stay here.
Deuteronomy 28 and 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again.
Right? They didn't get to see America no more again. They got brought to the Caribbean. They got brought to Tangier, Africa, to the Cape Verde Islands, to Europe. They didn't get to see this land no more again. This is for the Gadites. This happened to you as well. Read.
And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies.
Right? The Englishmen, the Portuguese, the Dutchmen, right? The Spaniards, the English, the Germans. You'll be sold unto your enemy. Read.
For bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you.
Right, so this happened to you as well, Gad. Are we done with everything in that book? All right, so that's going to conclude part 2 of lies the white man told me. There's going to be a part 3 because we just touched on Thanksgiving, right? There's more to be brought out, Lord's will, so I hope you enjoyed the class. You got a lot from it, right? Use a lot of this stuff to help educate you Lord's will, but the scriptures is always going to be the first thing that you should be applying, the first thing that you should be establishing in your life. The history there is just to show you that the prophecies that the Most High gave to us in the Bible are real, and they did happen. All right, and this is what we're now bringing out. So with that, I say shalom, Most High Christ bless.
What is a nation? Nation is men leading by example. Nation is family. Nation is community. Nation is children with role models. Nation is unity. Nation